contraceptives and birth control. Who's ready? Who's excited? Now, we all know some people more than others who need some of this advice and this information. But really, I just wanted to touch on exactly what contraceptives are and, what birth control is. I want to talk a little bit about the history and why there is so much distrust in this industry in particular. And because I know you're going to ask about that, Benny, you're going to bring that up. And I think it's valid. And I do want to answer some questions, some myths that I think people just don't really understand how it works, especially men. I think the burden of birth control has really fallen on women. And so men are not aware of the side effects or how difficult it can be. So I really just want to talk a little bit more about that this morning.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, we all know how pregnancy works, right? How you get pregnant. You don't know how pregnancy works, Benny.
No.
Okay, so we know that, the sperm has to fertilize the egg, right? So the sperm has to be able to get to the egg, fertilize the egg, and the egg goes on into the womb where, it implants, and that's how the babies grow, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And so birth control or contraceptives, basically what they do is they stop some point of that process. So whether it's preventing the sperm from getting to the egg or preventing the egg from even being released, for you to even have eggs, or preventing the eggs from making it down into the womb and implanting and being there in the uterus, right? So what most people are familiar with, of course, is condoms. That's going to be the most popular mode or method of contraceptives. And what I thought was really interesting when I was doing my research is kind of the history of how that stuff has changed. So at one point, as far back as 1873, there was an act from government, the Comstock Act, that prohibited ads, any information, any distribution of condoms and birth control.
Wow.
In 1873.
It was an act of Congress.
That's a long time ago. You have to think about that. That's a very long time. And people have been using all kinds of things that they thought worked and, that they believed in, and animal intestines and all kinds of crazy things. But they used what they had to do what they wanted to do to protect themselves from basically from unwanted pregnancies.
Right.
A lot of women before marriage didn't want to get pregnant, and also during marriage you didn't want to just keep having children.
But see, that's when they came with the POG.
What's that?
The pull-out game. That's when people, they used to work after that. Like when contraceptives were in their early stages, guys would practice with their hands up and being able to push out fast.
Okay, listen.
It's pull-out game 101.
I hope you guys can hear him. But I think that is one of the methods, right? That people use. It is one of the methods that people use. It's just not that effective, right? And so that's why typically, if you're trying to be as safe as possible, you want to use more than one method. So you want to use, condoms and the pill, or the pull-out game and the condom. Like you want to use more than one method to make sure you get the most efficiency that's possible. I knew that you guys are going to be difficult about this today, I just knew.
We ain't doing anything.
But anyways, so the way that condoms work, obviously, they stop the sperm from getting to the egg, right? And so there are all kinds of things that you can use that do the same thing. You can use a cervical cap, you can use a diaphragm, which are things that go into the vagina to protect, they're barrier methods.
Women's contraceptive.
Yes, but did you know that there's also a female condom?
Yeah, I've seen them.
I've heard of it, but I didn't think it was really exist. I thought it was a myth.
They about the size of the opening of a cup, though. So they they're huge.
Oh my God, they're not huge.
They're kind of depressing. If you
No. Stop. They're not huge. Oh my gosh.
Look out! You see this V949 cup?
Oh my. Yeah. Hello. Let's just focus. No, the way.
I'm all right. Don't even worry about it. Let's just hold hands.
The way that the female condom works is that there are two flexible rings, and one goes inside of the vagina, one stays on the outside, and so it acts in the same way as the male condom in terms of just it's like a lining that prevents the fluids from passing from one person to the next. But the female condom, however, does not protect you against STDs in the same way that condoms help to do that. So that's one thing to be aware of.
They just stop the children.
Correct. Correct. That's the purpose of focus. Yes, Bartholomew, I see you have a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this question because I know there's a lot of women, they're on the pill or some type of birth control. How healthy is that as far as long term with taking something that's foreign in your body for 15, 20 years?
Now,
What's the long-term effect?
That's a really great question. I think a lot of men don't even understand what the side effects are for taking the pill. And basically, typically how the pill works is that it has two hormones, estrogen and progestin. And those hormones either stop the egg from releasing so you don't ovulate, right? So, or they make the lining of the uterus thin so that even if there was an egg that was fertilized and it came down into your womb, it would pass out, right? Because it doesn't have enough to stick to, basically.
Yeah.
And so, with any hormones that are going into your body, you have to understand what hormones already control in your body. Does that make sense? And so, with your, your menstrual cycle, the symptoms that come with that, the cramping or the heavy bleeding, the PMS, the emotions, the weight, all of those things that are associated with that are going to be affected by you putting these hormones into your body, right? Now, some people, especially for younger girls, they can start them on the pill to help regulate those things because it's going to be the same dosage every day, and so it helps to control those symptoms. I know that was, for me, I started when I was like 18 because my family wanted to help me. It was difficult. The situation for me, my menstrual cycle was really difficult, and they wanted to regulate that so you can control when it's going to happen and how, difficult it's going to be. It just helps you control it better and facilitate that. But to your question, I think we don't necessarily know. I don't think all the research is in on how healthy or unhealthy it is in terms of long term. Most women that get off of the pill are able to conceive and they don't have any issues, but I think it's more so the difficulties that they experience while using it, because it's going to change up your hormone balance in your body. And some people, they get a lot of weight gain, they get cramps, their skin breaks out. Usually it helps in the other direction, but some women react to it differently. Yes, Bartholomew. Question number 2.
Yes, ma'am. Now, the reason why I was asking that is because I've seen a lot of women that have been on birth control over the years, and now rumor is that that's why some of these women with these pot bellies and stuff like that, they come. I ain't trying to be funny for real, not this time, but a lot of times you see a lot of those women that are on birth control, it's like it's a pattern. That's the reason why I was asking what's
that's what I said. A lot of women do get weight gain.
Specifically in the stomach. No, I'm serious. You done seen them before. We call them birth control stomach. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them, that's not for all cases.
Right.
But I think when you putting something foreign in your body like that, it got to be a consequence.
Yeah, I do think that, like for me personally, and this is just my personal belief, I'm not a doctor, I don't like the idea of things that stop your cycle entirely, because I think that's a natural flow of your body, and your body is built to have that happen and to have that renewal and that change and that shedding. So I personally am not a fan of things that just stop it entirely, right? Because there are different methods like the IUD, which actually goes into your body and stays there for years at a time, where some people just don't have, any cycles. And that to me is a little bit more scary because, like you said, you're putting something foreign into your body. And I also think it's kind of scary to get like the shot or the implant, because once those hormones are in your body, like with the implant, it's slow releasing, right? So you can take it out and it's supposed to stop the effects. But for me, what scares me is if you have a bad reaction, how long do you have to wait for that reaction to be over? If you've introduced that into your body, if it's this high dosage that's supposed to be released over a short amount of time, how much of it have you already got in? Because typically you have to wait a few months for your body to adjust to it. But what if that adjustment period doesn't go well, and now you have to wait on the adjustment period after you've taken it out, where the hormones are still in your system? So that's really scary.
Sounds scary.
It is, and I think a lot of men don't understand it. They're like, oh, just get on the pill, get on the pill, but it can be really difficult for some women. Things like hair loss, anything that your hormones are going to control, there's a possibility that you'll have a negative effect in that way.
That's like for those that are trying to get pregnant, when you're trying to get pregnant, the doctors will put you on birth control to regulate your cycle.
Yeah.
And that adds, of course, that hormone, like you said, the effects can be different depending on the woman.
Absolutely. And I do want to speak to kind of the history of how, birth control came about. There were some really scary things that happened in the research and development of, contraceptives. Black women for one, and then there was a lot of studies that were done in Puerto Rico because it was, the laws were different. And
really, I didn't know that.
And back in the day, we've changed a lot. You know better, you do better. We've changed a lot in terms of protecting people who are in studies. And so, we know that you have to protect people's privacy, but at one point they were doing tests on like mental health patients who couldn't sign or give consent or say yes or no, and so they were just doing those tests on those people without their consent. And similarly in the Black community, we know that stuff happened with Tuskegee, with syphilis, and so this is another example where a lot of people thought that it was kind of a Black genocide. Black women couldn't get medical treatment and care in other ways, but birth control was free. And we're trying to give it out to everybody, and a lot of women went in to give birth and came out not being able to have any more babies, right? Because there was sterilization that was happening. And it always has affected the minority communities, the impoverished communities, and even Planned Parenthood was mostly started by women who believed in eugenics, which is really like streamlining the population to have the best. The best genes stay strong. And of course that was being tested in the Black communities, the minority communities, the poor communities. So there are definitely some fears that are warranted that people have had over the years, and I definitely think you should do your research. I always say arm yourself with knowledge. It's important to see the doctor to find out what works best for you and for your body. You definitely want to you're probably going to have to try a few things, but you want to have as much information as possible. I definitely believe in choice. I think you should have the opportunity as a woman, as an individual, to choose what's going to be best for you, what's going to affect your body in the best way. And that definitely can be scary. You definitely, hopefully, have a partner who understands that there's going to be trial and error. Some things will work, won't work, be more difficult than others.
Be patient.
Definitely have to be patient. Yes, Bartholomew.
Yeah, I got plenty of questions.
I know you do. Go ahead.
All right. So, as far as with women in birth control, as far as regulating their cycle, how much of the diet do they eat play a role in whether it's heavy, light, or does diet play any role at all?
I think that diet can play a role in your management of symptoms. I think that you can consume things that are going to either exacerbate those symptoms and make them worse, or help. There's certain things that you can do to, I think physical activity and exercising definitely helps you with that pain and helps your body in general be stronger, because they definitely advise exercise to help with cramps. I don't know if there are any foods in particular that they recommend to help with that hormones, with the hormones in your body specifically. But how I feel about diet, I think the healthier you are in general is that the better your body's going to be able to fight any difficulties that it faces. And so the more that you consume things that are better for you, the more that you're drinking water as opposed to overloading your body with sugar or salt, is the healthier it's going to be and the better it's going to be able to tackle these symptoms that are coming through. It's just I think there are certain things that we cannot control to the T, and I think this is one of them. The body is like a machine that regulates itself. And it has the hormones and the various chemical components in your body that do what's necessary to survive, right? And so your body is going to monitor its own levels, and it's going to give you what you need or take away what you don't. But you have to take care of it around the clock. You can't just expect it to do everything for you. But also, speaking back to the money that has been put into birth control and how the culture has changed, because like I said, back in 1873 it was no birth control, no condoms, don't share that with anybody, don't put that out there in the media. And up until 2010 it was about $100 million every year in federal funds that went to abstinence only sex education, right? And I think obviously we found that it is ineffective, right? People are definitely still getting pregnant, people are still are getting diseases, sexually transmitted diseases. And with the rise of HIV, because back in the day, the worst thing that could happen to you could get treatment for, right? You got syphilis or gonorrhea, you could just get treatment and carry on your way. So people weren't as worried about it. It's like, oh, you get a cold, you take some medicine, you keep it moving, you're fine. But with things like HIV coming into play, there was a growing fear of unsafe sex practices, and how do we educate people so they can make better decisions and make that across the board, not just a few people who know how to do these things. And I think with abstinence-only education, of course, Alabama would have been one of the places that preaches that, because we don't want to accept the fact that younger people are, in fact, having sex. Yeah, we don't want to accept that. We kind of have to just swallow that bitter pill, and then from that point forward, figure out how we can handle the situation. Understand what the situation really is, and then move forward with it. We have to give people the information so that they can make safe decisions, so that if they're in a situation, they know what they can do to protect themselves.
Right.
You know,
And where to go.
And where to go to get the things that they need. You know, how much it's going to cost, how does it work. They have to be able to talk to their parents about it, or some kind of adult in the situation who, you know, has good information, isn't going to be judgmental. So that's definitely something that I want to promote. You know, I want people to be comfortable talking about these things. You both have daughters. You want to be able to answer questions.
Right.
You want to, you know, you have wives. You may have issues or not have issues. You want to be able to speak to those things. You want to come from a place of understanding.
Right.
That's why I think it's so important that men are just as aware, you know, as women in these situations about what's going on.
You got to understand, like you just said, you have to have patience. You got to understand where the woman is coming from, because you have a whole life thing that goes inside you. Like, that's amazing. And with that being said, you know, you have to be patient and learn how to deal with the emotions of the woman, of her hormones, because like you said, the birth control and everything else that goes on, these feelings, emotions, all that stuff goes with the female into the little one.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The stress, the anxiety,
anxiety, everything. And of course, we being men, we don't think about that. That's not what we think about until we have to think about it if we have daughters, when we get married, and we see the different characteristics or behaviors due to cycle of emotions.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you gotta be like, ugh. Like, you know, what is it? Happy wife, happy life?
That's right.
When wife's ain't happy, it's because it could be those emotions. You may not have done anything. And me personally, I had to learn that. Like, I didn't do that. What you mad at me for? What's going on? You know what I'm saying?
What you said?
No.
But I'm just saying,
don't do that.
It's real though. It's real. So it's like, for me, it's an eye-opening. Like, I never seen it from that perspective, but you have to, especially when you have a little girl and a young woman.
Definitely.
And a grown woman. It doesn't matter. I got all perspectives. Boom, boom, and boom. And they all are similar in their own way.
Right, right. You definitely have to know.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely it's just amazing to me. Like, you know, we don't think about it. Like, we grown folk. You're 27 now. Just had a birthday. You're 30-ish. I'm 40-ish.
Had a birth.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, we don't think of it as we live our lives.
How those things change.
As how, or what women, at least I did go through to get us to this point.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like a given. Oh, she's going to have a baby. And they had a baby. They're young. You know, I say it all the time, you know, when folks are trying to have a baby, it's hard for them. But when we're not trying, young, doing it all the time, every other day, every day, it's
But you know, you have to understand too that the fertility works differently from the way that we perceive it. So you're actually at your peak fertility much younger than what society finds acceptable for people to be having babies.
Okay, so you're saying
like when you're
at your peak, you're young.
Very young.
Very
young.
young.
Like a teenager young.
Oh.
I would say your peak, like, you know, it all going downhill. But that's when you become you're coming into fertility. That's what you know, getting your first cycle is. And so like in those teenage years, that's when you're the most fit and healthy and the most fertile. So and then of course as you get older, it moves further and further away from that period. But I just want to say, everybody, arm yourself with knowledge, do the research, talk to people, ask questions, and figure out what works best for you or for your partner or what have you. Just know that there are lots of options out there, and they are available to you. So arm yourself with knowledge.
Appreciate it, Kim.
Love with Kim.
All right.
Appreciate it. Every Wednesday, 8:30 every Wednesday. 6 minutes away from that boy, Shawty Slim Home Team Mix. It's coming up next. Good morning.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about breast cancer.
What's up? How you doing? Happy today. We did that.